Paradigm Review Show, the #1 show. Whoops, I'm still Ross Sheen, but that is a production mistake. I'm actually Ross Lee. You guys all know who I am. So, Enter the Dragon, 1973, R action. This is from the PXF Classics series. I don't have the PXF drip on today, and that's because Jerry Cantrell is coming to town, so I'll be going to Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains later. So, Ross Lee's in the house. Shout out to Jerry Cantrell. If you're in the San Diego area, come out to the observatory later tonight. I know we don't do a lot of music promo, but for special artists, we certainly will. I want to, as I was just telling Gaz before we went live there, I want to say the anniversary is August 19th, 1973. So we're within a few days of right in that range, the 3 days or so of the epic Enter the Dragon anniversary. As you guys know, last time we did Game of Death, so it's kind of like the unfinished final Bruce Lee masterpiece, and we discussed how all the footage ended up in all these different versions and such. And we had our special guest Greg Fernandez Jr. with us, and he is joining us once again, lead PRS correspondent in the Bruce Lee realm. What up, Greg? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
Welcome, Greg.
Shout out to Fire Pixie Armad keeping things lit in the chat. So yeah, guys, last time we left off with Game of Death. This one is a bit more of a finished Bruce Lee masterpiece. I think we all just had I think we all watched it today, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a pretty fresh review. We're all coming off of our latest watch. Any initial notes, either Bruce Lee or Enter the Dragon stuff, guys, and I'll pull up Wiki in the background so we can see what it has to say on there.
Go ahead.
Go on, Greg.
That's all right. We went from probably the worst Bruce Lee movie to the best here.
I see that. Somebody named Greg Fernandez Jr. wrote that in the chat. Yeah, that's a good recovery for our audience, because after we subjected them to Game of Death, now it's like, well, look, we weren't lying. Bruce Lee did make good ones. Here's my Blu-ray copy, and we'll go through some of the extras with you guys. I got a while back.
The thing as well with this film, Ross, as we mentioned when we were chatting about something recently, you can kind of see the foundation for the whole Mortal Kombat games, films, Shang Tsung with Han. Everything is in there. Legendary score as well. That opening after the initial kind of fight Bruce has, when we're introduced in that opening, still very captivating and one of the most iconic kind of introductions ever, I think, in a film.
I totally agree. If I'm not mistaken, I learned this from YouTube. That's Sammo Hung that he's doing the exhibition with in the first fight.
Oh yeah.
Much smaller Sammo Hung than when you see him in later years. But dude, the guy can still fight, Greg. We watched Twilight of the Warriors walled in, and Sammo Hung had like a cameo fight, and dude, he was still with it. Like, all those years later, an absolute beast. I mean, so many legends and cameos. So Gaz brought up the Mortal Kombat reference. I was obviously thinking about that for when we did Bloodsport. I mean, in many ways, Bloodsport is like the spiritual sequel to Enter the Dragon. The Enter the Dragon Bloodsport connection, it's Bolo Young, is it not?
Yeah, it is, because Bolo plays the I think, is he Korean in Bloodsport, but he's got a very Thai style as well. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's jacked too, man. Bolo.
Dude, he's the most ripped dude, man. So
his son is as well.
I always thought about that. I mean, when you talk Enter the Dragon, I mean, I hate to bring it up because I do this every show, Greg, but like Apocalypse Now, like the iconic. I know it's like Apocalypse Now is a few years later. Enter the Dragon's like a little bit earlier than it error wise, but like Bruce riding in the boat on the way to the island, like that whole concept of like going up to the final boss in the water. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I know my audience would be like, not Ross with the Apocalypse Now in every film, but sorry.
No, but it's there, Ross. And there's also, we could even argue it's an amalgamation in many ways of a James Bond movie combined with a martial arts movie as well, because you have the espionage and the secret agent part. I do think Bruce's acting in this film isn't to be overlooked. we've been looking at the various Kurosawa movies and old school samurai films, and we've often talked about that comparison with the Western movies, you know, the extreme close-ups to provide the facial expressions. Well, you certainly see that with Bruce in the film right from the start, and I think that's excellent.
When the first dude is telling him about, I was with your sister that day. And like Bruce is like, oh, I didn't know that. And then Bruce's reaction to the story. And then like, the way that Enter the Dragon does the flashbacks and the callbacks, like this just so, because you see that in kind of every modern movie now, do you not? So it's so before its time, the way they approach interesting, guys. Badlands was 1973 and Enter the Dragon is also 1973. We didn't plan that, guys. It just, we wanted to do Enter the Dragon because it's around the anniversary, but like, two completely different movies, same year. So it's just how influential Enter the Dragon is. I still think it's probably the most influential martial arts film of all time.
Yeah, agreed.
A lot of those motifs, like Gaz and Greg said, like you see these come up in so many other movies, you know.
Even the classic The Last Dragon, with the character Bruce Leroy, and there's the theater scene where they're actually watching Enter the Dragon, you know, the Shogun of Harlem. That movie's hilarious.
Yeah, there's so many like other action movies where like dudes are watching like Enter the Dragon and it shows like a quick clip of like Bruce fighting Han. I forget, is it one of the Tarantinos? I'm totally spacing now, but I know there's another movie where like the main character is like specifically watching that fight. Of course, The Most Dangerous Game, guys. An island where they're not hunting. Han's not hunting people per se, but a villain dressed in black that lives in a fortress on an island. It's The Most Dangerous Game. It's a bit of a mix between The Most Dangerous Game and like Battle Royale, which is like that final like Kurosawa. And then of course, like we said, Bloodsport, the Mortal Kombat Fight to the Death tournament theme is all Enter the Dragon. As Gaz said, The Last Kumite and all that other stuff. Gaz was better versed in those than I was. So yeah, I think now that we've done Bloodsport and Enter the Dragon, we'll have to do The Last Kumite.
Definitely. Yeah, you might be interested in joining us for that one, Greg. It features many iconic action martial arts stars from various movies. Cynthia Rothrock, apparently, from what I've read, the guy kind of wanted to recreate that spirit of Bloodsport, bringing all these legendary actors. So that could be one, you know, we could all weigh our thoughts on. Be good to do.
It's like Bolo's son, right, guys?
Yeah.
To watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to peep the trailer, Greg, because I haven't even seen that. But yeah, guys. So I assume by now you've all seen the film and known of the legendary Bruce Lee performance. But notable appearances: John Saxon, Roper, Jim Kelly as Williams. Of course, Shi Ken plays Han, legendary villain. Of course, we said Robert Wall, aka Bob Wall, O'Hara. If you guys want, we can just get right into plot, unless you have any more intro thoughts. So 1973. Actually, hold on. I didn't do synopsis. First and foremost, we go to straight IMDb synopsis. Very basic, and maybe doesn't do it justice if you just read the sentence, guys. But I believe you'll both agree when you watch the film, it far brings this description to life. A Shaolin martial artist travels to an island fortress to spy on an opium lord who is also a former monk from his temple under the guise of attending a fighting tournament. It leaves quite a bit out in that description, but I think it's fine.
Short, sweet.
Okay, so I can jump in on this. I'm sure you remember this, Greg. So you guys have AMC over there, right, guys? The channel.
Yeah.
And back in the day, did you guys have those pop-up blurps where it like gives you the fact of the movie on the bottom while you're watching it? I think they called it AMC pop-ups. It's something like that.
Yeah, the same, and you get like that tagline run along. Yeah.
Yes, dude. So how Pixie found out this is Jackie Chan's first movie? Like I was, as I said, Greg, like I got onto Bruce Lee late. Like, you know, I'm like a mid-90s dude. So I was like, Jackie Chan was like my guy. So I was watching pop-ups. And in that final fight, we'll discuss it again when we break the fight down. At one point when Bruce grabs the dude by his long hair and puts him to the side, I think it's right before he starts getting the weapons, and they do that close up on Bruce's face when he does the neck break. That's Chan. I think he was around 15, if I'm not mistaken, Pixie. So it was literally like his first appearance in a major fight with Bruce Lee. And a lot of people don't know that because Bruce completely murks so many guys in that fortress fight that it's really easy to just have Chan like go by like, damn, that was Chan, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I found that out from the little AMC facts, which man, I don't know what happened to those things. It was so cool watching movies on those.
Prime apparently that. You still find some of that on Prime, I think.
Yeah, apparently as well, he was one of the stuntmen that Bruce hit. You know, when he was wielding the two sticks. I think was that the prison scene, possibly. I think it was. Possibly, yeah.
Yep.
That was
good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, no, for sure, guys. Keep your Enter the Dragon commentary coming in the chat. 73 martial arts film directed by Robert Klaus. Yeah, I think you knew a lot about him, Greg. We discussed that last time. Stars everybody we just mentioned. Enter the Dragon was his final completed film appearance before his death on July 20th, 73, at the age of 32. An American-Hong Kong co-production, the film was premiered in L.A. on 19 August 73, 1 month after Lee's death. Estimated to gross over 400 million worldwide, equivalent to an estimated 2 billion adjusted for inflation as of 22. Not bad for 73. Against a budget of 85K. I feel like you could see the budget in this movie, you know, because the fortress and all the extras and stuff. Pretty good quality camera too. I mean, my Blu-ray copy is like, I'm sure there's a 4K out now, but like my Blu-ray copy is pretty crispy. Most successful martial arts film ever, and is widely regarded as one of the greatest martial arts films of all time. In 2004, selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry of the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. I agree. Among the first films to combine martial arts actions with spy film elements, like Gaz said, in the emerging blaxploitation genre, its success led to a series of similar productions combining the martial arts and blaxploitation genres. The film's themes have generated scholarly debate about changes taking place within post-colonial Asian societies following the end of World War II. Enter the Dragon is considered one of the most influential action films of all time, with its success contributing to mainstream worldwide interest in the martial arts, as well as inspiring numerous fictional works, including action films, TV shows, action games, comic books, manga, and anime. Plot. So it should be no surprise to you guys that Bruce Lee actually plays Lee. Big stretch for him. Really has outside of his, like, only certain movies like have those like actors that are like use their real name, and it's because like it's like a superstar icon. Like it's like he doesn't need a character name. You know, like you could like he can act as Lee and be a totally different character than Bruce, but you know that it's the talent coming through. You know what I mean? Just checking my camera real quick. Yeah, dude, of course. Jerry Cantrell tonight, Slipknot, so I'm going ham. I switched up my gear. Okay, that's
I was fascinated that it was a very early movie, 1973, and the focus on the drug problem too. The kidnapping problem, the prostitution. It covers so many different levels. But you're right, the spy thing for me got overlooked because I was focused on all of the other things. But it's an old school. I love the comparison you made to a James Bond movie.
Yeah, I was going to say Dr. No, because he's like a villain on an
definitely the island.
Enter the Dragon, Dr. No.
The film, I think, is ahead of its time in so many areas. Like you, Ross, when we were talking about this in the last show, my exposure first was Jackie Chan, growing up in those, with those movies, and then, my dad obviously turned me on to Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee, and so on. In the early part of the film, when they're traveling on the boat together and we're kind of introduced to the various fighters that are going to compete in the tournament, another archetype that sets up many films of this nature, where they're always, they're either traveling on a plane or a boat, and you can get the flashbacks or introduce the various styles, people talking together, that guy or that girl, where they're for, and so on. It's very subtly done, but there's a scene where Jim Kelly, who plays Williams, is talking to Roper, played by John Saxon, and they've got that reunion. We're given some little information that they know each other from being in Vietnam, and Jim Kelly has that line where he responds to Roper and says, "Those people over there aren't living so well." It's like kind of a ghetto town. On boats. So back then it was even commenting on that class inequality, ghettos, as William says, you know, all over the world, wherever you go, ghettos are all the same. So there's so many little things in this film outside of the martial arts that are referencing both the political and social climate, which I think is really ahead of its time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So the crime, as we said, like it's a martial arts, you know, masterpiece, but it's really like a bit of a like genre bending film, because as Greg said, with all the crime elements, so they have it as kung fu, martial arts, one person army action, crime, and thriller. And like the spy thriller is like what Gaz said, and then obviously like what Greg said, human trafficking, the opium trade, the opium wars, poverty line, and just wealth gap, and
the whole Vietnam War. Because if this was, I mean, the Vietnam War didn't end until 1975. So this, they're talking about this in 1973. That's a big deal. I think at that point, a lot of people were tired. They're like, we need to get our people home. But I love that line. Yes, that's one of my favorite lines. Those people don't live so well over here. The ghettos are the same everywhere. They stink. Man, that was a powerful line. And when I first watched it, I was a kid, so I didn't know about the Vietnam War and all that. So I totally overlooked that. Now it's one of those movies that just ages very well.
Yeah, it's I was going to say, as much as I love like The Protector, The Raid Redemption, and all that stuff, and the new school action films, obviously, because like new stunts, wires, and cameras, you can do a little bit more with the pageantry, but like there's just certain elements of like this, like some of the older Hong Kong martial arts action films, like depending on what they're wearing, and you know what I mean, it's like it's just how it's shot is like becomes super outdated after a while. There's something about Enter the Dragon that it just doesn't. It has that's why the PXF Classic, it has that timeless look. I've seen this movie at least 10 times, and it never, as Greg said, it never wanes any. It never goes downhill at all. It always has the same impact every time.
Because it's got universal, relatable qualities. I mean, the sad side of that, there's some of those that still around, sadly. Also, right after that line, the camera pans out, and I think you see a little girl and a mom possibly stood there looking out, and it's only for a second, but it's so impactful just the way it shot that scene, and I think that's what helps as well keep this movie so up to date. For example, if you're watching snowboarders and the camera goes really in close so you can see them doing the tricks or racing, well, the way this is shot as well, we have kind of that first person feel in a lot of the fights or sequences too, so you really kind of feel like you're really a part of it.
Absolutely. And another thing, like we said, like what makes it so strong is like you have like the three main characters, like Bruce Lee, John Saxon, and Williams, and then obviously Roper, and then like Mr. Han being the villain, the big bad, and then obviously like the kind of like henchmen, like O'Hara and Bolo. Like it's like a stacked roster, enough flavor to all the personalities work. Like everybody gets their little shine. All have different fighting styles, as Gaz said, in Bloodsport. So it just gives you the variety that you're looking for.
And there's the humor as well. There's still that humor with some of the dialogue, whether it was intentional or not. Especially the introduction to, is it Parker, the guy from New Zealand? It's like,
he's awesome.
What is your style?
Yeah.
Oh man, but he's just like being a dick on the boat and just like kicking guys' baskets of oranges over, and then like Lee puts him out in that boat stranded. The boat floods in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Now that looks like it was really shot there. So he's really on the boat, and it looks like man. I mean, I feel like they had to say, "Okay, cut," because the boat was going to sink a few times.
Yeah. I was wondering about that, man. They went hard.
Can I ask you both this, as we're saying, we're obviously the film's timeless. Is it just me, or is there something so magical about Hong Kong as well, especially the gritty urban feel for this kind of movie? I mean, I yes, you could also include the various action movies and crime movies that have followed, that have been set in Hong Kong, but there's just something about it that just draws you in.
I think there's two things for me. Yes, I think the 70s element really draws me in, because there's something very special about the 70s, the music, all that stuff, but just the 70s element, but also the fact that Actually, Hong Kong, I believe, was still under British rule at this.
Was up to 97, yeah.
Right.
For
So
sure.
it's like they were like a very oppressed people in this area, living on these boats. They're living on boats, and not because they want. And these are ghettos. These boats.
Yeah.
And you look at some of those scenes. It's so heartbreaking. It's so powerful. And I remember as a kid, it really made me respect that. At least I had a roof over my head. I wasn't living on the boat. I get seasick, so I would not want to do that. But it's a very powerful scene.
I'm glad you guys brought that up because, like, the first 5 times I watched this, like, a lot of that stuff, as Greg said, it was even when you're younger, it's really easy to gloss over it, and then you're thinking like, hey, like you kind of know what it's about because you've seen the trailer or you read the back of the blue, and it's like Lee gets sent as an agent. You assume he's probably going to fight Han. Bolo Young's in the movie, so like what you want to see is Lee just like take out these guys one after another, one person army style. So it's really even the opium trade. Like I think that's an element that's really easy to miss, Greg, in this movie if you're just too focused on the. And I'm not saying you shouldn't need to be overly focused on the combat because it's a martial arts film, but like we said, there's a lot packed in there. I mean, sadly, it's a martial arts film. You can actually learn something from this one.
There's so many subtle nuances, as we've all been saying, because Lee's first meeting with Jeffrey Weeks' character, he plays, it's right in front of me, isn't this? Braithwaite.
Brit agent, right?
Yeah. And, when Lee's asking, right, why don't you just send in the guys with the guns, for example, and he's, no, we gather information for interested governments. And then Lee's expression is just, there's another, and he does that at the end of the movie as well. Spoilers alert, folks, when they actually do arrive, they see the powers that be arrive, and then Lee's just like look and say, yeah, now you arrive just after half the island of us being unalived.
With guns.
Little subtleties like that.
They rescued them when Bruce and Roper rescued them.
Yeah.
It's 2 guys.
Yeah, I never considered that. They had guns.
And also, when we were talking about people living in those boats, the only other film it's just come to me where we kind of see a little bit of that, as well as Kickboxer OG, the first one. When Van Damme with your favorite artist Ross Stanbush is singing along, and you see the boats there as well. See the time we see it. Sorry for the Stanbush jab there. You can get me that later.
I'm going to come down on you with the 4th.
Oh no! Get him in while I can.
But I got to find something really bad. But before we get to that point, one other moment, we'll talk about it when we get to the end. But when Lee gives Roper that thumbs up at the end, he has that look on his face, like okay, like victory, but like, was this a good thing? Like they're both serial killers now because they both killed 100 people. And I mean, technically they took out the bad guy, but that island is a massacre scene. Like that, that's a very bad thing that happened there.
This is a good thing. This is a powerful thing with Enter the Dragon. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about the action side of things with the fights as well, but the acting side, the emotion that the characters show, and for example, just before that thumbs up scene when Roper John Saxon is sat there looking around, and you see the body of the girl that he had the remote romantic relationship with, and you see that sadness in his face, that tragedy. It's like, man. And the characters do show that. Jim Kelly playing Williams, I think, is great in this movie. He's actually one of my favorite characters in the movie. His expressions as well. All, as you said, John Saxon, Jim Kelly, Bruce Lee, all of them are definitely it's a stacked cast, but they are definitely the standouts because they all show their different struggles, their different reasons for being there, their different experiences of some personal tragedy that's happened prior to the tournament.
Yeah, and if you didn't know that this was a Bruce Lee movie, you may be thinking, okay, what's really going on here? Who's really going to win? They have 3 main people here. So once you see Jim whatever happens, I don't want to spoil it. People, I don't know. Hopefully everybody's seen it, but it's just kind of like I was wondering. Of course, I knew this was a Bruce Lee movie. I think it was made as a Bruce Lee movie. So a lot of things that happened towards the end, I was caught off guard by, and there were a few scenes that never happened that I heard happen in real life. Maybe we talk about that too. That never happened on film. That I was a little disappointed with.
I know that when he kicked O'Hara, and he went flying back into those dudes, and they went to catch him, and they knocked him down. That was a real Bruce Lee kick. Did you know that story, Greg?
Yeah. You can see it. I think on Bruce Lee's on his hand, right, or something. He's got the little thing. So something happened, and the glass hit.
Or Bob Wall accidentally cut him, and Bruce got pissed, so he didn't pull that kick, and he sent him flying through those dudes.
That receipt.
So the big thing is like nothing real happens on action movie sets, like Greg was saying. But I suggest everybody go watch that kick and tell me if you think there's a way you could fake a dude flying backwards full speed into the stunt guys behind him. Like maybe now you can CGI it, not back then. You know what I mean? So yeah, there was definitely some moments.
And that was
the mirror scene's crazy back then.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, legendary.
So, let's like get into their little intros. We'll do like the flashbacks, and then we'll do like the beginning of the plot. So Roper is like a gambler. He's a golfer, and he gets jumped by like some henchmen in the woods. And then he pretty much takes them out with a combo, and he tells like his assistant to book the trip to Hong Kong. The racist cops. Williams gets stopped by the racist cops.
That's one of my favorate scenes.
He's
not going to Hawaii.
And tackling the racism back then too, like you guys were saying. He takes them out. He steals their car, and that was always like in the back of my mind. I was like, so dude, like Williams took out 2 cops and stole their cruiser, and like even if he wins the tournament, if he has to go back to
no one's gonna be looking for him.
It's gonna be a wanted man.
That's like 70s. Only in the 70s would something like that happen. Like that's probably how bad real life was back then. They never really said like what city or what where he came from. I always, we could probably name a few that we probably think
it's got to be like LA or New York, because
the dojo scene was cool to set that up prior as well. That was pretty cool the way he was paying respect to his sensei. I like that.
Yep, hell yeah, that was sick. That was those guys were like the kind of street style dudes.
Yeah, he had some awesome lines as well.
Yeah, dude. So stacked. Lee, a martial artist instructor from Shaolin Temple, Hong Kong, is approached by British intelligence agent Braithwaite. Oh, when you said this, guys, too, I was going to say, and like it totally segues what you guys were talking about. So essentially 3 different audiences with Enter the Dragon, because you have like the US production, obviously the Asian, Chinese market, Bruce Lee market, Hong Kong audience, and then like the British actors, guys, the British agents, the British theme. So like essentially you have a US, a UK audience, and an Asian. I think each audience probably interprets it different and probably comes away with something different.
Yeah, it's a very international focused film. Again, as I've been stating, so ahead of its time. The different genres in there. Espionage. Interesting thing with Jeffrey Weeks, who plays Braithwaite. Apparently, he was a Hong Kong-based radio host. Sadly, he passed away only a year after Enter the Dragon. His only other role was that man Bolt as a bank employee, apparently, and it's uncredited. So
that sucks. I didn't know.
He was a pretty good character, I thought, and had one of the most hilarious scenes in the film, as we get to later, where somebody's calling him in the middle of the night, and he's referring to somebody knows, like, oh, it's late. That the person's telling him, oh, it's late there, and he says something so stereotypical but funny. I can't do the posh accent, but he's like, "You bloody well wake him up."
It's just him at all. I don't care who's with.
Keep your Bruce Lee stories coming, guys. So I have a different interpretation of this slip. So it's my understanding that is what Tarantino thinks, because I mean, it is well known when Bruce first came to the States, he wasn't respecting American stuntmen. So on what was that show you were talking about? Green Hornet, right? Kato. And other things. Bruce was like really hitting the American stuntmen with like the chest hits and stuff, and he was like messing them up. So they were complaining to production. So that's why the States brought in Judo Gene LaBelle, because like he's the type of like American fighter that's not going to take that stuff for Bruce. I think they figured it out. But yeah, when Cliff Booth froze Bruce Lee into the car in Once Upon a Time in America, I mean, it was supposedly to show Bruce Lee's arrogance. Before the audience comes down on me, I'm a Bruce Lee fanboy, so I can understand both sides. I mean, I see what Tarantino was getting across, because I think that probably was the initial interpretation of Bruce. What up,
Larry? Welcome.
But at the same time, I don't think that's like, I mean, Bruce had a much longer career than that, so I don't think it's something that really stuck.
Was Tarantino not a big Bruce Lee fan? Was he on the other side?
I mean, I think he likes him, but he was showing like what the American like Hollywood production, what do you call that? Impression of him was, which was when he first came to the States, he was treating the stuntmen arrogantly.
Because the interesting thing is they say, I mean, it's probably more standard now, but when some of the Western actors were first going out there into Asia, into Hong Kong, that the stunt guys, the fighters out there were hitting a lot harder, almost like full contact sparring. Well, not far off there. Yeah. That's probably become more standardized now to make the fights look more authentic and more realistic.
And maybe Bruce was bringing the Hong Kong action style to the U.S. and we weren't ready for it yet. Probably so. I mean, again, there could be a little bit of loss in translation there. I'm sure there's two sides to every story. Who asked for his help in an undercover mission to investigate suspected crime lord Han, who was one of the students of the Shaolin Temple. Lee is persuaded to attend a high-profile martial arts tournament on Han's private island to gather evidence that will prove Han's involvement in drug trafficking and prostitution. Since Han's island is only partly in their jurisdiction, they are unable to conduct any formal investigations. I mean, you got to think they've got that worked out since then, right, guys? I mean, oh my God, part of the island is, feel free to deal all the dope you want. We can't do anything about it. And I'm sure they came up with a solution to that one. Conduct any formal investigation. Han does not allow firearms on the island to prevent assassination attempts and raids from international authorities. He runs a martial arts school as cover for his illegal operations and holds the tournament to recruit martial artists to expand his illegal business. Lee agrees to help Braithwaite, leaving his efforts will also redeem the honor of the Shaolin Temple that was tarnished by Han. Shortly before his departure, Lee also learns that Han's bodyguard, O'Hara, is responsible for the death of his sister, Su Lin. So I have a question. When the dude was telling Lee that story, did he actually tell him that O'Hara, I know he said the henchman was a part of the, but I couldn't remember if he actually named O'Hara, or did he just say that I sliced a dude in the eye with a knife, so obviously he would know it was the dude with the scar. I don't know. That wasn't 100% clear to me. I know it's a dumb question.
No, it's not.
No, I think based on the way that scene played out, I felt like he was replaying the whole scene for him. And at the end, the reason why she kills herself is because she doesn't want to deal with O'Hara, with whatever they're gonna do to her.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
For sure. How does Lee identify O'Hara of the essentially killer of his sister? I know.
I think you're right. I think you're right because she cuts him with the.
He said he said that it was the other dude telling him, "Hey, I cut one dude," but then he was the leader of this. Because the way they showed it to you was just a flashback, and it was anyway.
I always thought that was Bruce Lee's dad too, and that it was the sister, but I don't think that's right. I think that the more that I watch, I'm like, nah, I think it's just. I don't really know who that guy. I think he was.
I think it's one of the dudes from the temple.
Okay.
Yeah, right. For sure. I think he was just one of the dudes from the temple. Rick, you are out of the channel. You're off the channel.
I just saw that. I was about to say Rick, man. That's a fighting words.
Enter the Dragon. If you ever mention the Crow remake in the same sentence as Enter the Dragon, I'll ban you to the deepest, darkest depths of YouTube chat you didn't know existed. Okay, anyway, Lee arrives on Han's Island and receives a warm reception. Joining him are other competitors, including Roper, an American playboy and gambler who's indebted and on the run from the mob, and Williams, an African-American activist who is on the run from after defending himself against two racist police officers in Los Angeles. So that was the whole racist LA. Okay, I'm sure Gaz will be rejoining us. That was the whole racist LA cop theme, which again, Rodney King riots, all the things that happened in the 1990s, Enter the Dragon is way ahead on that issue. Seriously, handle that, Pixie. No Crow remake talk in my chat, boys. Roper and Williams are former karate brothers and fellow Vietnam veterans who also have a betting scam going on. One will underperform until the other can get a bet on the outcome and at good odds. Roper and Williams win their first fights easily. We're just gonna keep on cruising till we get our boy Gaz back. If we get our boy Gaz back. Okay. We have Jack Whack with us.
Just got whacked. But careful, I was going to say Yeah, once for the rest of it.
Gaz got whacked off line. Wordplay.
Not a fan
about you, Rick. You pipe down in there.
Yeah.
All right. So we were just doing the Roper and Williams backgrounds, Gaz. So it said Roper. It said Williams was in L.A. and they were former karate brothers, and they had their bet going. The rules of Han's tournament are simple. Competitors compete in one-on-one matches against each other. The opponent who gets knocked to the ground loses each round. Any weapons are strictly prohibited in the fighting arena. At the end of the first day, the competitors are all offered girls of their choice by Han's assistant, Tanya. Williams chooses several women, while Roper cunningly chooses Tanya as a mutual attraction grows between them. Lee chooses a girl which he saw in Han's entourage, who is Mei Ling, a covert agent whom Braithwaite had placed on the island to gather intelligence. However, Mei Ling has been unable to escape Han's strict observation, never to leave their rooms. I get it, but like putting Mei Ling in that danger when like she's not a martial artist, like what, like does she have like secret, like the Walther PPK like Bond has, like what means was one female supposed to defend herself on an island full of martial artist warriors? Like put her in extreme danger and risk. Like it's like, I get you need the intelligence, but like there was absolutely no, and what did she even get? He didn't even say like she's a paid agent. Like what does she get for doing that? Like, yeah, okay, she saved the country from some evil island, but like you essentially risk your life with like no benefit to yourself, She
was pretty good at throwing the dart at the piece of fruit.
Yeah, true.
She had that type of skill, but it never really played out.
So she had like 10,000 darts to kill every guy on that island.
I thought that scene where we're introduced to Han, you've got the sumo wrestlers, the people playing the Chinese music, and of course when he enters, everybody just stops, statuesque still. It's really good. I mean, Han is, I do feel he's like the archetype for Shang Tsung, Ross. That whole scene was very, I was going to say Mortal Kombat, but yeah, the premise for what would follow.
I was going to say this earlier. Now that you brought that up, that the John Saxton character, the Roper character, I feel like Johnny Cage was kind of like
American karate style,
business and everything. Definitely good call.
But that whole scene, I wondered the first Han scene where they do like almost a 360 panoramic view. I wonder. That must have been a weird set, because I know sometimes it's really hard to film in a set like that, where it's not, you don't have that fourth wall. It's like you're really, and I don't know, maybe they just did a great job at doing it. The movie is so well done for so many reasons, and the filming is just so great, especially when you're like, you watch that movie and then you want to go watch some other martial arts movies. I just haven't found anything that really lives up to that, especially during that era. Maybe things came later.
Sure. Yeah. I would say like the closest thing to like a new school Enter the Dragon is maybe like The Protector, because it has like a lot of the same elements. So
very.
Tony Jaa's like a little bit heavier on the stunts, and Bruce is more like technical.
Great movie.
Guess what? I wake up with AIC in my head every day, Larry, so I know what you're talking about. 38, is this John Saxon, Pixie? John's my man, and he actually retired from acting after this, didn't he, guys? I don't think
he was in Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
So I was waiting for him to kick Freddy Krueger in the face or do something like that.
He just kicks his hockey mask off. That would have been sick, or just beats his ass with a golf club, like his Roper character.
Do you get like me, Greg, when it's some actors that are actually trained and have only done 1 or 2 martial arts movies, and then you'll see like the next 10 movies to do, and there's no display of that, genre, and you sat there down, and you think, please just throw something so I can say, oh yeah, that dude was in.
That's kind of, I'm getting off topic, and I'll get back on topic here, but that's kind of how I felt about the Brandon Lee Crow movie. Was like, he did a couple one jump kick or something like that. He did a few of these, one chop, and I'm like, man, all his other movies, he's a great martial artist.
I mean, the only problem is me and Gaz said, and now we're off topic, but it's okay because Rick already mentioned the Crow remake in the chat, and that was your first mistake, Rick. But like the problem is that Brandon Lee character is like a rock singer, like a grunge, basically like an underground grunge band. So like, why would he have this amazing pedigree of Bruce Lee's martial. You know what I mean? They would have had to be like, hey, he's a rock star, but he also trains. You know, they totally.
He did some amazing jumps over the table with the guns, and then he did that one, kick where he's on the ground and kicks somebody up. But anyways, let's move on.
I just quickly noticed as well. John Saxon also was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, he was the father of.
Interesting.
Was it Nancy? I think.
Yeah, Nancy.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Man, Lauren Lepre would have been all over this because he knows like he could pull up Friday the 13th one and be like, hey, here's the top 40 actors in the film. I can name like 4 in the genre. Lauren would be like, hey, dude, like this one's in Friday the 13th 7. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
But hey, martial arts, sci-fi, I'm your guy. I just don't know those horrors that well. Okay, so where were we at here? Blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, the whole Roper and the Madam thing, you know what I mean? Like it was kind of interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, this is a little bit unnecessary. This has no effect on the outcome of in terms of Lee fighting Han the villain, you know what I mean? But that's how movies were in the early 70s. It was like you have all these little subplots, and every guy has to have a love interest, even though Williams had 2 or 3.
And I always wonder why Han chose her. Didn't choose a Chinese woman or someone closer. Why did he choose her for that role? And I think it was more because Han was trying to bring people from all sides of the world in there, and that was more universal and the most attractive woman in the movie. Yep. Too, I think
100%. It's the same reason why he was trying to recruit Roper. He wanted those Western faces for his organization. Tanya's dealing with the human trafficking side, and so she can work with the Americans in the you know what I mean. So I think it's 100%. And again, we're getting super deep into Enter the Dragon subtext here, but that's what we do on Paradigm Review Show. So what? Okay, so there we are. Mei Ling unable to escape. That night, Lee begins to stealthily. This is the spy aspects Gaz mentioned. That night, Lee begins to stealthily search and infiltrate the island for evidence and finds a secret entrance to an underground compound base where drugs are being manufactured and testing on unwitting prisoners. Lee runs into Han's guard, but manages to take them down and flee before they can identify him. Lee is seen by Williams, who is outside for some fresh air and practice. And despite strict rules against being outside after night, the next morning, Han warns the competitors about wandering out of their rooms at night. Han punishes his guards for their inability to fulfill their duties by leaving them to be killed by Bolo, Han's muscle-bound enforcer and chief bodyguard. After the execution, the competition resumes as Lee is called to his first match, which is against O'Hara.
His only match.
Yeah, for sure. And when Bolo was like killing the guards, I'm like, okay, like it makes some sense, but like he thinks he's going to be able to get more guards after he just lets Bolo completely bulldoze these guys. Because who's going to be like, hey, I'll do it, you know what I mean? After they see that happen, you know what I mean? Like if you mess up, that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, I always found the way that Bruce Lee was dressed while he was doing that is very similar to his outfit in Game of Death too. Even though you trade the yellow tracksuit for a blue, a dark blue night suit, and it's almost the same type of thing. It's a pretty interesting comparison.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool little things, like when he finds the snake and does that thing. There's a lot of cool little
on the head. And that snake actually really bit him too, I guess, at one point.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I suppose it's poisonous. The guy who played Han lived until 96. I watched a video of interesting facts about Enter the Dragon earlier. Damn, send me that, Pixie, if you can find it. I'll show you.
I saw this clip where they were saying that like when Bruce Lee was asked like who one of the best fighter is, he actually said that the person who played Han. I was like, man, I don't know if that's true. I've never heard that before, but that's pretty interesting. He was an interesting person. They did this movie so well. They started with the fight scene and they ended with the fight scene. I couldn't ask for anything more from a martial arts movie. The main character, unlike the Game of Death, the version that we all saw where the body double falls from the ground.
Yeah,
that was Ross's favorite scene.
You compare that.
Best death scene in cinema history. It's definitely not Blade Runner. I'm not super familiar with making this movie. It was just released in the US or no? So it's like it's a co-US Hong Kong production. So
Rick's pretty much international. You've never seen Enter the Dragon? Those Canadians.
I think he's seen it. He just said he's not. So yeah, they don't. They don't up north.
They don't have Enter the Dragon in Canada, apparently.
They don't have a Canadian dubbed version like Lee. He's going out and about. All right. Okay. So during the fight, Han warns O'Hara to step down as Lee keeps outclassing him in a humiliating fashion. Lee kills O'Hara with a stomp after he tries to attack him with a pair of half-shattered glass bottles, thus avenging Su Lin's death. That was Lee's sister. An embarrassed Han abruptly ends the day's competition after stating that O'Hara's treachery has disgraced them. Later, Han summons Williams to his office and accuses him of attacking the guards the previous night. Williams denies this and wants to leave the island, so Han brutally beats him to death with his iron prosthetic left hand. We'll get into that. I mean, the O'Hara fight.
Do you want to break down the fight?
Yeah, Lee is clearly faster. You guys can take it over.
What I think is magical, Greg, is when they start off, we're introduced to Lee's speed again. Definitely the superior fighter. O'Hara is taken by surprise because he's used to being dominant up until this fight. You see that shock on his face. I like Bruce's acting with this as well. Excellent Japanese sidekick, the one that he really did. It knocked Bob backwards. And the emotion that Bruce shows in his face when he does take O'Hara out for killing his sister. And that's not to be overlooked either. So
such a sick reaction.
Yeah, I love the way this whole panned out, Greg. So have you got any particular favorite sequences in this fight, or do you just think it's just from start to finish?
Yeah, I think the way this is one of the, I've never seen a fight scene like this. Usually it's two guys, they're fighting, but the reasoning, the purpose of why Bruce Lee is doing this, how he's doing this, how slow he's doing. It's one punch.
Taking his time.
One punch. Yeah. And he's just like, man, like he really wants to hurt this guy. He wants to embarrass him. I've never seen a fight scene like that ever. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful because we know why Bruce Lee is doing this, because he tried whatever everything that happened with his sister. Yeah. I'm trying to be cautious with the YouTube thing because I know they're crazy about words. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'm not used to it.
Greg.
But so it was a very powerful scene because when you think about what could have happened to that sister and the danger that she was in, and these bullies. And anybody who knows about bullies, it's like, man, how do you deal with the bully? And here is Bruce Lee's chance to go one-on-one with that bully. And it's just, I love that scene. And it's not one of the greatest fight scenes. I think it's kind of one of the lesser fight scenes in that movie and in any of Bruce Lee's movie. In any of his movies in there. But it's definitely, for me, it's one of the more powerful ones. The passion, the anger, having sisters also is like, get him, anyway, there's something very different about that scene.
Did you like Bruce's footwork when he starts to loosen up and you can see that he's toying with O'Hara and that he is going to get his vengeance? Obviously, he wins the fight. Interestingly, Han warns O'Hara warns it's when I think Bruce strikes him for a third time and O'Hara grabs his ankle, pulls him over. Han warns him then, don't bring dishonor. And of course, as we're getting to the Pinnacle unalive scene, where O'Hara, we have to do this, folks. I know it's stupid. And O'Hara breaks the balls, and then of course Bruce then pretty much just dismantles him, takes him apart. The different facial expressions, Greg, right from, as I say, that footwork scene where I'm toying with him. So well done.
100%.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think, didn't O'Hara, I know he played a different character in Return, Return of the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon. But I think he kind of also had a similar scar there too in that movie, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
I think he did, didn't he? When he was stood out, I think I know the scene where he's in an alleyway scene or something, and you see the close up on his face. I think
I don't remember, but I definitely have more to add on to that. So I think it was like, as you guys said, now I believe there is a flashback where Lee sees his sister's face, right? And that's like, so you know what I mean? And then so it's that, and then so he's thinking of what O'Hara, and as Greg said, what O'Hara and those guys did to her, and that's when he kind of does that stomp and kind of like, you know, neck stomp and kind of unalives O'Hara. It's kind of like that Bruce Lee like reaction, like it's almost more of like a martial arts execution than it is a fight, because O'Hara really doesn't land anything on him. It's just parries and Bruce knocking him down.
And that's
does Bruce really do the jump when, I mean, or is it just made to look like that when O'Hara grabs his foot? And just the 360 jump kick.
The way it played it looked like he did the jump. I don't know if they cheated the camera. I mean, and again, they could have had him do it sepaanly out of the fight scene. Based them together. It was well done. Very, very well done. Very sick. So anyway, like you guys were saying, I think it's the combination of how Lee's character is feeling because of the flashback, but then because Bob Wall injured Bruce the actor, it was all of that combined, you know, like he got a little PO'd, and you know what I mean, he used kind of like what he was saying to his early student, like in the beginning of the movie, like use curiosity, use emotion, but not anger. You could kind of literally see that happening in that scene when Bruce kicked him and sent him flying. I
wanted to ask you guys if you don't mind, because we did kind of I know that the version, Ross, that you had up there, that has that extra minute or the extra scene, right? And for me, as I remember when I watched it, I was like, that's a big deal. The scene with Bruce and his master, his Shaolin master, I guess, you know, it didn't really add too much to the story. It made more sense to me why Bruce went there. But what did you guys think of that extra scene that they added in later with Bruce Lee's Shaolin master telling him, "I want you to go to Haunt Island"? Did it add anything to it, or was it okay that they cut that scene out?
Do you want to go first, Ross?
I like it better with it, just because to have the British agent, like you guys said, come and ask Lee, a Shaolin master, to do him a favor when Hong Kong is under British control. You know what I mean? It's like, why would it? That's your problem. Like you got a drug lord out there. Like, he might be from my temple, but he's banished from my temple, right? It's not like he's like a respected member. You know, that'd be a little bit different. But it's some guy who's a former monk from my temple. Whereas like having Bruce's temple tell him, it's like, well, this is a personal thing. You know, business is business. This guy's from our temple. We can't have him disrespecting our name. That's how I took it. You could tell me if you had a different interpretation, guys.
No, I thought it linked it together nicely. It gave a reason for Braithwaite to request Bruce's help. Like, we need a specialist. Yes, they probably could have sent in. You would think there would have been someone from the Brits or the US who they could have sent. Yeah, they could have sent in easily, but no, we want a specialist, someone who's got this connection, you know, through his sister O'Hara, two hands, treachery. So yeah, I actually thought it kind of just added, it just strengthened the story a little more for me, Greg, just woven it together a little more nicely.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, the mystery of O'Hara. So Bob Wall, he plays Bob in Way of the Dragon, or at least that's what he's credited at. O'Hara in Enter the Dragon as Bob Wall. He's Carl Miller in Game of Death. We discussed him last show. Go check out our Game of Death review. Gaz, he plays Thug in Enter the Ninja, 1981. He plays Thug in Code of Silence, Chuck Norris, 85. He played Vince in Invasion USA, which Gaz and I just reviewed
man,
ago.
How did I miss that?
Yep. And then not much. He's got some random stuff between then and there. I guess he was on Walker, Texas Ranger. He was in Psy Fighter. But in 2009, Blood and Bone, Michael Jai White, he plays O'Hara as Bob Wall.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
The mystery of O'Hara. It looked to me like Lee dispatched him in the tournament fight, and I don't see him returning, but we have to assume that next stomp was somehow survivable, and our boy O'Hara reappears in 2009. So we're definitely going to be checking out Blood and Bone.
Yeah, that movie's awesome as well.
What was
Blood
the
and Bone
fate of O'Hara? This is the alternate ending of O'Hara.
That's one of my favorite Michael J. White movies, that as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big rule. If you don't see them actually gone, they can always come back. Right?
Yeah,
Dude, if he didn't die on camera, you can always come back like 30 years later, because 1973 to 2009 is quite some time.
Do you think he could come back more times than Metal Gear? The Snake in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Solid Snake. Yeah, Solid Snake is the man, dude. A little bit of Bruce Lee and Solid Snake's pedigree, or O'Hara. Did Jerry sing Anger Rising? So the show is tonight. I haven't gone yet, but I didn't see Anger Rising on the set list. But everybody go check out Jerry's new album, I Want Blood tour, ongoing now. So we were at the Williams fight. So Williams goes to his office. This is the first time Han's combat martial arts ability is displayed. I think he uses what does he use on him? The bear claw?
He does. Just to back up
at first. I don't know if he changes it.
Just to back up a little bit. Yeah. Just back up a little bit before that, did you like the betting scheme that Roper and Williams had on the fights, where they were reeling in that guy and the odds? I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! Gotta keep the gambling theme going.
Yeah, and that was really good to show how bad gambling is. It was a good kind of wake up call for some people to say, "Man, don't be a gambler, because look at how this guy could end up." You
end up in a tournament to your death where you're betting on fights and.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at which we'll get around to covering at some point, Best of the Best 2, where the gambling side on that is really amped up 1000%, especially the actor playing the host who thinks he's on a Vegas show. But anyway, that's a whole other topic.
The guy that Roper was fighting during that gambling scene is the guy who was one of the main villains in Bruce Lee's first movie too. I thought that was a pretty interesting twist.
Was that Big Boss by any chance?
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't he have the pink shirt or something in that movie? Yeah. I know you're on about it. Yeah.
I got the Big Boss over here in my collection.
That's a great
awesome film.
I see Greg likes Star Wars. What does he think of Yoda's most confusing line from Attack of the Clones? Around the survivors, a perimeter create.
You want to create a perimeter around the survivors? Of course. Why not?
He just talks backwards. You know what I mean? It's Yoda,
Yeah.
of course.
He ran the whole clones, man. I mean, somebody had to save him. You wouldn't have episode 7, 8, and 9 without him. Disney would be screwed right now. So you can blame Yoda for the last trilogy and everything after.
So I'm going to be honest. The Williams Han fight leaves something to be desired, because Williams was built up for a pretty capable fighter, and Han dispatched of him rather quickly. Although, like, he did have to jump him, and Williams washed the guards, which you'd expect. But all it really hammered home for me was they broke the wall down of the opium den and just seeing the prostitutes out of their minds. So it's kind of like a dual purpose scene. It's like Han beating down Williams, but then also you see the condition that the human trafficked women are kept in, and it's pretty abysmal in the opium den.
So I must admit that it's the only part, I guess, where it is a little anticlimactic, because I do like Jim Kelly's character Williams in this movie. I like his fighting style, his lines, with YouTube with words, when his iconic line that he says to Han, BS Mr. Han. The way it's delivered so good. It would have been... do you think it would have been nice if he just stuck around a little longer? If we just saw him a little longer in the film?
Yeah,
I'm not a nitpicking guy.
Kind of like Greg was saying, when you should have had that final fight in Game of Death with Bruce and his two boys. The way that they introduced these three characters, you really should have had a sequence with all three of them fighting off.
Yeah, man, that would have been good.
The only criticism of Enter Dragon was you just didn't get that, but obviously there's enough sick Bruce Lee fights, and I get it. It's about Lee's character, so it's not really a three-man show.
I love the whole Williams fight. I thought it was great. I thought it set up the danger that you kind of were like, okay, he he's gone. Who's going to go next?
For sure.
And I was expecting Roper, and this is a 70s movie, and back then the whole joke was, well, the black guy always dies first. So you kind of know where that's going. Of course, Bruce Lee's sister, she was gone first, but I love the way that scene was filmed. I love that it showed Williams's power, but it also showed who Han was. It's the first time we really get to see that Han is not just a guy sitting there. He can really go, and he can really fight. I love when Williams is doing this thing, and he's, and the whole doves are flying by. Man, I just thought the way it was filmed, that especially that scene, is really one of my favorite scenes, where they really back up, and Williams does some of those beautiful kicks. He's got some amazing kicks there. So I felt like he got to really show his everything that he can do, and I was really hoping that he would have a longer movie career. But
I've got a little nerd comparison here. So in that fight, Williams versus Han, and as Williams is kind of attacked, isn't he kicked or hit through a kind of wall, and you see the prostitutes there who are obviously heavily on opium, and there's the scene with the lights and the music. That I don't know if you've seen this movie, Ross. It's one of the very first James Bond movies on Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby, like one of the very first ever Bonds. There's a sequence in that where they've got like the music and the lights kind of. It reminded me of that scene. If nobody has seen that, let's just forget this, because it's just gone.
I think I've seen them all, but I mean, honestly, there's 30 plus Bond films, so
it's not going to come like straight to mind right now, is it?
Yeah, exactly. But
that was when they made two Bonds at the same time, right? And so they had the Sean Connery, and then the other one. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Pathetically, I probably know what you're talking about, though, Gaz, because being the Austin Powers fanatic I am, they took a lot of that influence from Her Majesty's Secret Service with the lights and girls dancing in the 60s BS. So,
it's
my Austin Powers pedigree has that in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think it's like they've got a base, I think, of like the mountains or something, like a kind of like this ski resort, and I mean, it's so long since I've seen the movie. It was on TV, but I just seem to remember that they had this scene which was very like that Enter the Dragon scene at that point, and I thought, ooh. So it's just come to mind. I wasn't particularly going anywhere with it.
Then I'll take it from here. So Han brutally beats him with his iron prosthetic left hand. Han takes Roper on a tour of his underground base and invites him to be his representative for his illegal operations in the United States. Han also implicitly threatens to imprison Roper with other martial artists who joined Han's tournaments in the past. Roper reluctantly accepts after Han drops the brutalized corpse of Williams into a pit of acid, hinting that Roper will face the same fate if he refuses to cooperate. The same night, Lee infiltrates the underground base again to gather sufficient evidence to warrant Han's arrest, and manages to send a message to Braithwaite. After a prolonged battle with Han's guards, Lee is eventually lured into a trap door to get imprisoned and captured. So, I mean, this is the big fight. This is what you watch the film for. This is where it all goes down. So that sentence summary did not do this fight any justice. So Bruce fights his way down there into the pits of Han's secret island lair. And
can we go back to the Roper scene a bit? Because that was, I thought that's where first of all, I thought Han did great because he was testing Roper. He puts his hat on the guillotine to see what would actually happen, and then he walks him through this area where they have all these women that are just being drugged. And as a kid, I had no idea. I was like, there's zombies, or what's wrong with them? I had no idea about any of that stuff that was going on. And when they're cooking the drug, I was like, what are they cooking? It looks like honey or cereal or something. What's going on there? Right. But as I grew up, it was like, wow, that was a very powerful scene. And then of course it leads to that where Han, and Han is his character, I thought was very well done. And Roper, I love the Roper character because you didn't know. I didn't know at least which way.
the way they introduced him was he's already an illegal gambler. He's already got trouble with the mob. So, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool. He can kind of go either way.
And I do wonder if, well, I don't know you guys' thoughts on this, if Williams was still in the movie at that point, would Roper have still turned out the same way towards the end of the movie? Or do you think that kind of drove him to do what he does later in this film?
Yeah, to get revenge.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, especially if he'd have lost that love interest earlier in the film, that could have drove him forward as well. Because there's the scene early on where she is, I'll say, alternatively massaging his back with her feet, and she's like saying, "Oh, it's good down." He says, "I know," and you know, he's teasing her, and then she says, you know, a man like you would be good on the island. So right from that early stage, Greg, it is kind of teasing the viewer with, is Roper going to actually join Han? I mean, I mean, you do get that very powerful scene with Han showing, sadly, what's happened to Williams, which I thought was some very good acting by John Saxon in that scene as well. You see the look of absolute horror and disgust when then I think that's where he realizes this guy get past the charismatic side, the showmanship is actually really evil.
Yeah, 100%.
And so then I know Ross was getting into that before I cut him off, but basically then Bruce Lee's character goes down the exact same place that he already went down, but yet this time there's a snake there. I think it's a king cobra, if I remember correctly. And then sorry, Ross.
Yeah, I like how. I think now that you say that, I think I must have heard that in the documentaries. And again, where's Lauren's lifeline when I need him? Because Lauren knows Bruce Lee. Again, besides horror, this guy knows the Bruce Lee facts. Like he's right there with you, Greg. But so Bruce pulls off his little sneak baggie, and he pushes the snake into there. But if that was a king cobra, I assume that it had to be defanged, because I think there would have been some real trouble if it would have been Bruce. Anyway, we're go ahead, guys.
I was just going to say, certainly back the same in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford, the whole pit of snakes around him. I'd have been so comfortable in that scenario.
Dude, I'd have been, man, my pants would have filled up like Tom Brady and South Park, dude. I do not like snakes, dude. That's me and Indy are 100%. Yeah, no, that's so they get him into the trap door corner. We're trying to focus on the review, right? Clown, calm down. So this is the big fight. So this is the fight that's like, I remember when I seen this on AMC pop-ups, like the first time I seen this movie was probably on TV, honestly, but I'm just like, what movie is this? And I was just locked in because Bruce, extreme hand-to-hand Jeet Kune Do style, Greg, of course. And then I think he goes, is it longbow, sticks, nunchucks? So he has this one sequence where he just busts out every weapon and goes absolutely ham. It's just like, I think it's the best sequence in the film in terms of combat.
Great.
Maybe of all time.
Yeah, first it's hand to hand, yes. Then the longbow, and then the sticks. And it's the first time I've ever seen the nunchucks in a movie, and that really had an impact on me, man. I was all in after that.
Hell yeah. Oh man. Crazy, man. We're trying to gather ourselves, guys, but this fight's so nuts.
Well, people always talk about that wanting to recreate that scene, and I do think you also see some early kind of bone breaking sequences, attempted arm bars, etc. So there's even right from the first fight, Ross, in the opening, there's even some early instances of what we'd see further expanded in Game of Death, where they're showing that kind of foundation for MMA, bringing in some different styles as well. Again, so many subtle nods in this film. Yeah,
I want to say it's like everything from the judo throws to the grapples, because the way he dispatches dude, he kind of throws them off too. So he goes longbow. I know when he picks up sticks, even just the way like how the stuntmen look after they get hit and how they do their flops. You know what I mean? It adds like that bit of like realism where like, hey, you could see Bruce hitting a dude like that and them falling like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of fluid. The big criticism people say of kung fu movies is when it's like a crowd attacking one guy is they go at him one at a time, so the guy has time to reset and adjust to each guy. But the way that Bruce did this choreography, it really flows in a way that like gives it that realism, for 73.
And he's moving as well. There's a few times where obviously he's repositioned as he's transitioning to the different styles of combat from hand to hand to weapons, but he's moving and he's surveying his surroundings. He's anticipating, he's right, how am I going to adapt to this scenario? I'm not going to stay static. So you get that sense of he's needing to adapt, the constant danger. He has to do this or he's going to be in trouble.
That's like, a great point. And it's also possible that since Bolo had already killed had already taken out the best of the guards, but I do love some of the way, like you said, Bruce Lee, and sometimes he's backed into a corner so they can't surround him. So I love that.
Yeah, using the terrain, as Gaz said, he's watching each guy's approach and then kind of resetting his footing. I think it all goes back to that the introductory monologue, which is like they're talking about like being a small play that's played seriously, but they're talking about it being like chess. And I think you really see him like implement all the tactics and methods that he was talking about throughout the movie, where like Gaz said, he's adjusting his footwork, he's watching as they approach, and then planning to move into positioning. He's planning to move into next position so he can flow in and out of the of the fight.
And the camera work as well to show us that. And when, famously when he gets his nunchuckers and does this with them, and the camera shows it shows us him thinking, him adapting as well, which just it feels very well coordinated.
Hells yeah, his choreography showed up. I mean, I don't know what happened to Robert Klaus's directing, like you said, Greg, because he's a legend in this, and then in Game of Death he crapped his pants. You know what I mean?
The worst follow-up.
Got him. Sorry if he's still around and he sees this.
We'll take him off the Easter gift list then.
What does he care about?
Or he will take us off it, won't he?
What does he care about? My opinion. I'm a guy on YouTube. He directed Enter the Dragon. It didn't really matter what you did after that. You know what I mean?
I just wonder if he thinks, or if he thought, hey, after filming The Game of Death, this is a great. I pat myself on the back here. This is
Enter the Dragon 2 coming right up. Not exactly, my friend. Not exactly. And I do want to talk about that when we come to the end too. So like again, when he gets the sticks, when he goes from bow to sticks, that one guy who brings him the nunchucks, like he just like takes one swing and it just wraps around the stick, and Bruce just like brings it back to himself, and he basically just gave it to him. It was like, was that a swing? Were you trying to hit him, bro? And then obviously he goes nuclear with the nunchucks sequence, as Greg said. So
that was an awesome scene.
Takes out the whole room. Yeah, I know. You guys are getting some good mileage out of this in the chat. Don't worry, Pixie.
That's why Steven Seagal couldn't get out of the chair in that movie because of that. Was what's happened. He couldn't stand up.
He couldn't stand up for the fight.
I will never get tired of that story. I love hearing that story. It's
me neither. I mean, Judo Gene is obviously a goat. So obviously that's where the Jackie Chan cameo is. It's just in that big, dungeon fight. I don't even know what they even like refer to that sequence as. So when he gets trapped, and he just sits down with the nunchaku on his neck, just like the sweat you can see on his face was like, dude, it was like he really fought. Like that's what I liked about the physicality of it. It was like it was believable that he just went through that sequence, because like when you have a Marvel movie and it's PG-13 and it's all CGI and there's not really any athleticism going on in the fight scene, it's just some guy like waving his hands around in front of a green screen, like, oh, I'm surrounded, and then you're like, oh, that was a sick fight, but like it actually looked like dude had just did what he just did. You know what I mean? Like that's what I like about kind of seeing a fighter after a immediate action combat sequence. You know what I mean? It's like it looks like he just had a workout. You know what I mean? And that's
right. That's what I was saying with the right from the opening shot of the film in Hong Kong. It gives it this urban gritty feel. It has this realism. You could also argue when we covered OG Dirty Harry, I mean that definitely has that, and the opening as well, Ross, with the music and you sing the skyscrapers, and it's almost very similar opening with Enter the Dragon as well.
Sure.
Same for sure.
Of course, like the Bay Area has, Chinatown, and it has all the stuff we talked about, Gaz, which is Warrior and the old, 18th stuff. If there's one city that kind of has that connection, of course, Seattle, because Bruce Lee was out there, Greg, but I'd say like the Bay Area too.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oakland, California. I used to work right next to where Bruce Lee, one of his studios, was. It's awesome, a really awesome place.
Oh, wow,
awesome. Super badass. So yeah, Greg's kind of up in that general area. I'm down here in SoCal, but the next morning, Lee is eventually learning the trap door, gets a prison capture. Oh, I did want to say one thing about the nunchaku. I don't know if you know this, guys. So it kind of plays into this sequence, like Greg was saying, and Enter the Dragon, and just so and then we said this is like partially like some British influence in this production from the actors and the state of Hong Kong at the time. So the UK guys had nunchucks banned as like a violent weapon. So do you know what they did to Ninja Turtles, the original animation?
Didn't they remove the nunchucks? Yep. Yeah,
they removed Michelangelo's nunchucks in the UK because it was considered
and then it was only added in later.
It was like a terroristic weapon. So
did they do that for the movie when the movie came
out? Apparently, I think there's a rumor that they did because there was talk of the uncut edition that showed the nunchuck scene, but now it's on TV. It's included as standard. It's included as standard now.
That was still, I think, late 80s when TMT came out. But Greg, I forget what they gave him, Gaz. It was like little daggers or something. Like, I can't even remember. Some stupid weapon that. But, Michelangelo has the dual nunchuck. So, like, in that intro, when they all come out with their weapons, they had, like, some weird weapon edited over Michelangelo. And you're like,
wow.
That's how crazy it is. But that's how crazy it is, Ross, because say the ban nunchucks that time as a legal weapon, there's some stupid old medieval law or something probably still around, I think, that you can practice and use a longbow and other various weapons that aren't exactly friendly. And I'm like...
Here you go. So, Jon Snow can snipe you in the head with a longbow at 1,000 feet away. But if you animate Michelangelo holding nunchucks, that's a bridge too far, people. Okay.
Or you can train with swords or axes or whatever. Like,
I forgot about this, Tim. So, not only that, they couldn't say ninja either, guys. So that was like along with the nunchaku being a ninja weapon. So they called them Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. So they changed the title and they changed dude, talk about cutting off the balls of everything that made the show good,
That's just crazy. And then if you think you compare them to those other animated series like G.I. Joe, which is obviously huge and everything like that. So I'm like, you're banning that, but
that's how it was. So I wondered about that sequence, Greg, because I was like, I'm sure they tried to edit it. Oh my God. It's not that Bruce was grabbing guys and breaking their necks the whole movie, but what about that weapon he takes out at the very end? Oh my God, we can't have that, It's like, what?
I wonder who paid for them to change that in the Turtles TV series. I wonder who said, I'd be curious to learn more about that.
That's a big thing. If you watch Minty Comedic Arts, I think the last couple he did about TMNT, he talked about there. So go check out his channel, like and sub. He's getting totally killed on the YouTube's crap algorithm, just like the rest of us are. But go rock with him. I love that channel.
You're in good hands.
Good. Okay. The next morning, Han commands Roper to fight Lee, but Roper refuses, and Han has him fight Bolo. Roper manages to overpower and beat Bolo after a grueling battle. Han orders all of them to kill Lee and Roper. I mean, we could break that sequence down. So
that's a big one. That's a big one because Bruce Lee kind of walks towards, and you think, okay, we're finally going to get this big fight here, and then Roper takes it. It's like boom. Yeah. But it also starts with where Roper is supposed to fight Bruce. And I really thought, Roper's done, man. This is going to be over.
He has to fight Lee. It's going to be a quick one.
Roper's a pretty smart guy. He didn't take that bet.
For sure.
But the odds were against Roper because, you either fight Bruce Lee or you got to fight everybody else.
And it would have been cool if they both. It would have been cool if they both fought Bolo. They didn't really make Bolo up to like be a guy that could take on like two two decent fighters.
Have you heard the rumor about the Bolo? I heard that Bolo, I forget the guy who played Bolo, but he and Bruce Lee had a real fight during that filming. I've heard theories, I've heard stories. I even saw a photo of Bruce Lee doing the jump kick at Bolo. Yeah. So I don't know if that was planned at some point or something like that.
The thing is, they take so many takes, you don't know what was just like behind the scenes or like throwaway. But I believe it. I mean, I've heard like a lot of that type of stuff where people coming on set trying to fight Bruce, and like I heard he was really, really about it. So
I heard that too because Bruce Lee shows up there to participate in this film, and he ends up doing all of the film choreography, and pretty much taking control of that, which means he's pretty much taking control of the film and the story of that film. So at some point, even maybe that's why Robert Klaus is like, you know what? I'm going to get you back in this next movie here because he's like, I'm going to take all your scenes out as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm going to edit it down to unwatchable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there was still enough in there that, you know what I mean, some of it was workable.
The fight was quite grimy as well, and you can see Roper what he's having to do to get that advantage over Bolo as well, and be quick about it. If he gave Bolo a chance to recover, it might not have gone so well.
Absolutely.
I had heard that was one of John Saxon's only, that he wasn't a martial artist or anything. That's one of his only fights. Maybe that's why he couldn't beat up Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, there is in one of the movies where Freddy fights the girl who is trained possibly. Well, she trained in something, isn't there? Where he's like a ninja or something. Yeah. Freddy 4 or 5, possibly. Yeah.
Well, Freddy couldn't take on Bruce Lee. We all know that.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee never sleeps.
Definitely. Well, he comes back in No Retreat, No Surrender 1 as well.
There you go.
So
Bolo's name is Bolo. So I think
it is Bolo Yang, right? Yang.
Bolo Yang,
so again, they're using a lot of the real names, which makes for me it makes it feel real, especially for that target audience, because you think the target audience, like, who is a target audience? They're making, this is a Hollywood film, a big budget, or semi whatever, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to bring 850K. It was supposed to bring the Hong Kong action to Hollywood, which it did.
I think so. I think it was,
Honestly, I think Hollywood was still pretty slow to, obviously, if what happened to Bruce didn't happen, we covered this more in depthly in the Game of Death. I think that's like more appropriate. Go check out our Game of Death review. But it opens the conversation for, like, other than Game of Death and stuff. Could they do more stuff with Enter the Dragon, or at least this Lee character, or the other things? Because I think it would have probably came to the point by the 80s, they would have wanted to do what, like, The Crow did and, like, start incorporating the guns and the kind of, like, that, like, modern action. And how would Bruce have translated it to that era? Because, with Jackie Chan, he didn't use guns. He always he always disarmed them.
Chuck was doing a lot of that. Yeah,
it would have been cool to see Bruce just like blazing through dudes, like holding assault rifles and just like freaking just like slapping the gun out of their hand. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to say this, Russ. Then, get like Equilibrium combined with that. That would have
gone over to like sci-fi action. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always like, where would it have gone? Because we got robbed of all the stars.
I think if they would have made a sequel to it, I think Gaz is kind of, I love what Gaz said about the whole spy thing, the James Bond. I think Bruce Lee's movie, the sequels would have moved in that way, and that would have been great. He would have gone to undercover.
Bruce is a character in a Bond film, like Bruce and Connery together, like like he wouldn't have to be a main, but he could be like, hey, Bond goes to China and meets with this Shaolin monk agent, essentially a shade of Lee. You know what I mean?
Kind of like Showdown in Little Tokyo, maybe something like that.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue. Hence, we're going to have to get that in the schedule.
Or Bruce and Brandon. Obviously, we got robbed of that.
And
the Crows, 2 Crows. The Crow resurrects a Shaolin monk from China. It's Bruce, and he just absolutely ethers people. That would have explained the martial arts element, like I was telling you. That's what we need.
But the legacy and influence that it had on subsequent movies and games, you know.
Yeah.
Double Dragon, obvious one. Mortal Kombat. I know it's quite comical, and yeah, some people kind of don't like how Bruce is. I guess the Sifu in No Retreat, No Surrender one, but everything that followed, you kind of feel it's in modern terms is all rooted with Enter the Dragon.
100%. The dude in Tekken, there's like a few characters that have like the afro bottoms, like they're dressed like Williams, right? So you know what I mean. There's like the video games, you could find a lot of that stuff, and then obviously the couple dudes that look like Bruce in Tekken as well. So the Bolo fight, Han orders all his men to kill Lee and Roper despite facing insurmountable odds. The island's prisoners released by Mei Ling and the other invited martial artists aid Lee and Roper in defeating Han's guards. Amid the chaos, Han attempts to fight his way out to escape, only to have Lee pursue and corner him in his museum, where Han retrieves a bladed talon replacement for his hand to prepare for the brutal fight. I love that like one scene of when he switches onto like the bear claw, and it's just like there's just like complete chaos around him, and like his first instinct was to like switch his hand out for the for the fight. It's just like all these guys fighting around him. You know what I mean?
No, one thing that I found kind of funny that I think when I was a kid and watching it, and some older person that was watching me, they pointed this out. I'm like, you just ruined the whole movie for me. And they're like, watch Han. Han calls out. He points to this guy, he calls this guy, he calls that guy, and then he tells them to all go fight Bruce Lee. Instead of just saying everybody get Bruce Lee, he's like, he calls them all out. And I was like, you just ruined the whole movie for me.
Why would you do that if you had 10,000 troops? Like, just everybody get him. And like what Williams said to Han when he called him into his office, you're straight out of a comic book movie, you know. So the comic book reference guys, you know, like very
that's what I mean. There's this
comic books behind it.
Yeah, there's so many nods and so many references to it. I mean, we could. Okay, here's another one. When they first land on the island and you see all the guys there in the guise doing a basic forward and reverse punch. That's pretty much in every American ninja movie ever. They always have the montage of the training camp with them all doing a base sequence, you know, be a high block, mid-high, whatever, reverse. So that was there. I love the end of this fight that we're breaking down this hut where everything just kind of, chaos erupts. But right at the very end, you see a background shot, and this made me laugh again when I saw it, of four of the guys who were held prisoner, Greg, and they've got one of Han's henchmen in the gate, and they're just throwing him to each other in Sclafon, and then just like pulling up his gi, and then just throwing to the one. I thought, were they making sure his pants were tight and that the top of the gi wasn't going to fall down? It's just like a random scene in the background.
I know what you're talking about too.
Whenever you have like those big sequences, like your eye is supposed to focus on like Bruce and Saxon and the stars. If you've seen the movie enough times that you can watch what's going on in the background, you start noticing some things. Matter of fact, Pixie, you probably noticed some things about Bruce because he spends the majority of this film with his shirt off. And I don't even remember how his shirt came off when he went into that dungeon fight. Did he get ripped or something? Or did he just like snap his fingers?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it was like,
I think he took it off at some point. Go back and watch it.
I'm gonna
have to go revisit that.
I'm gonna put you both on the spot here and ask a very loaded question then. So, favorite. And I know this other one's kind of a bit martial arts, comedy, fantasy, but it's still an awesome movie, and it's on the PXF Classics list. So, Han or David Lopan is favorite kind of martial arts villain?
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
I can answer fairly easily because I'm not like, you mean like Big Trouble in Little China? Like, I'm way more Enter the Dragon than I am Big Trouble. Like, I respect Big Trouble in Little China, but like,
it's a great movie.
I don't revere it the way that like, and I'm the John Carpenter guy, right, guys? So it's good because I'm obsessed with They Live and The Thing, you know, so that people will probably paint me as like, that's my lane, but like, I'm way more Enter the Dragon. Just, I don't know. I mean, like
Hans Momensen, isn't
things, you know, it has its little things about it that make it its own original universe. Like I respect a lot about it, but I don't put it anywhere near on the level of Enter the Dragon.
No, certainly didn't mean in the martial arts sense of that. Just
no, 100%. I got your question. I just mean so I'm biased to Han.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Han is more menacing in his name, much more menacing and imposing.
Sure.
Yeah,
I know. Lopan is supposed to be. I know what people think of.
There's something about Lopan, just his look though, that just kind of
his aesthetic. His aesthetic's crazy.
You don't want to mess.
We have a.
Han's a little bit shorter, I would say too.
Yeah.
But in terms of fightability, Han versus Lopan. Lopan better cook him with those eye lasers, otherwise he's getting his face ripped off with a claw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't the Raiden character based on him too, or is that?
That's I mean, if you take Enter the Dragon and Big Trouble, you can get Mortal Kombat out of the influences. So the big fight there, guys. Okay, so we're at the mirrors.
I do want to bring up one thing about the big fight, if you don't mind. If you notice the fight, one last thing that stood out to me is you have all the good guys wearing black, all the bad guys wearing white, but there's that one scene where there's a guy wearing brown. He's wearing a brown gi. And if you notice, he's fighting somebody, and they take the stick, and he breaks the stick in half.
Yeah.
Takes the guy down, and he's wearing a brown suit. I always wondered, who is this guy?
With his alignment, they never denoted what side he was on.
He didn't get through the laundry that day, so that's an accident.
He's like the Praetorian Guard. He's like the Crimson Guard of.
We'll go with that.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right, thank
you. That's my Star Wars theory. Anyway, see, full circle, guys. Full circle. What we do here. So obviously Lee chases him back. Of course, we have the legendary museum. Han retrieves a bladed talon replacement for his hand to prepare for the brutal fight. Han retreats into a room full of mirrors, which proves disorienting for Lee until Lee remembers his lesson at the Shaolin Temple and smashes all the mirrors to spoil Han's illusions. Lee kicks Han, who gets impaled by his own spear that was halfway harpooned through the wall. And Lee returns to Roper, and they exchange it. Oh no, okay, we'll handle that separately. So, I mean, obviously it's the final fight. I mean, Greg, you brought this up on Game of Death that you got to have your big bad villain be combat capable. So Han holds his own. I mean, they have some good cross shots where they jump across each other, some slow-mos. I mean, again, there are some slow-mos in this, but it's not like Gaz was saying in Bloodsport, where it's like the third time you've seen the slow-mo kick, and you're like, okay, I saw it the first time. Because in this one, you're like, damn, it looks good every time, you know?
And there looks like there's that one kick that is sped up, where Bruce Lee kicks him in the head, and you know it isn't a real person, but man, that's a brutal kick.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. If that lands, you're done. You know what I mean?
I love this whole scene, because even beforehand, isn't there, when Roper's, I think when he goes to meet Han and Han's describing his collections, and we see that in many movies since and series where you've got a villain who's collected armor and weapons from various eras of history, being a kind of nerd for that thing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the hunts for Most Dangerous Game. They're always showing the skins and the stuffed animals. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
or the heads. You know,
and this mirror scene that we're about to break down as well. I mean, that even goes into horror. I mean, that then became prevalent in many horror films. So
that was music too. The music.
Yeah.
Yep, Halls of Illusions. Yeah, we didn't really talk about the theme song and the score much. I mean, because we had a lot of combat to cover. But again.
If you're a Grey Dog fan, you may have another
another interpretation. So he has the flashback of what his sensei told him, smashes the mirrors, so Han can't play the visual tricks anymore. Before that, when they have the couple crosses and Lee sits him with the kicks, like you guys are saying, Han gets a couple scratches across Lee's face, both sides of his face. But when they do that slow-mo and Han slices him across the abs before Lee tastes the blood and licks with it, I gotta say, that blood looks super orangey paint, but you know what I mean? It's all good. And it was also an excuse, dude, we have to put an imperfection on Lee's perfect abs, you know what I mean? So it was a reason to just get him, muscles strenuating. Look, his body's perfect, but the villain did get him once across the abs,
True. He didn't have any black eyes or anything like that. Yeah, you're right. I never thought of that. The only marks on Bruce Lee were just those blood marks, which look awesome.
Yeah, for sure. The stripes of the almost like a Wolverine thing with the hand claw,
but obviously it's crazy. I mean, the fight, I mean, I've seen it a million times, so whatever you guys got on it. But obviously, Han threw the spear at him at one point, and it went through the door. So Bruce is basically a counter, right? He counter kicks him onto the spear, and a much more satisfying finish, big baddie death than what Game of Thrones gave us. This one is just the music, the way it ends, just so awesome with Bruce walking out, and they obviously did that on the door to get the shot spinning, which is like, honestly, it kind of reminds me of how Top Dollar died in The Crow, how we were saying, guys, when he fell on the gargoyle and the blood going down it. It's not the exact same imagery, but quite similar in terms of the aesthetic of the shot, you know?
Definitely. It's the subtleties in Enter the Dragon as well. When Bruce it's kind of right, I've taken him out, he's not worth any more of my time or energy, he dishonored the Shaolin Temple. You know, well, as he says, his opening line, you've offended my family, you've offended the Shaolin Temple. And you just see him hands spinning on the revolving door. Very powerful scene.
I forgot he had that big line too. That is key.
Yeah. This is one of the movies where less is more. The dialogue. The less dialogue is more, especially with Bruce Lee, because it's almost like you're craving more. You want to know more about who this person is. You never really get that
characterization
in that moment here. You know, even with his background scene, it's not really about him. It's really about his sister. With everybody else, about them and their journey. One thing that I love, a lot of things I love about that final scene. I love the whole final scene, but I love he misses. I love when Bruce Lee tries to hit him. He tries to hit him here, and he misses. It's just like, oh, you almost got him. You almost got him. I'm like, I'm right there with him. It's like watching a UFC fight nowadays, where you just see these two gladiators, these great athletes, and man, when they hit each other, you kind of know they're going to hit him. But when they miss, you're like, ooh, if he would have got him there, that would have been it. I love the way they played that out.
Yeah, man. Genius level fight. Love
and it keeps that realism as well, that even someone can be at that top level, you can still make those errors, things can still happen sometimes, even someone like that. So it's not like this is my perfect excuse to do something that me and Ross always enjoy doing, not like the MCU where all of them are perfect a lot of the time.
No, 1,000 enemies and you land every single shot. Come on, man. They won't even do that in the comics. They were getting hit all the time and losing fights in the comics, but somewhere along the line that was completely lost, you know?
It's like very rare that one of their hits misses or any of the blows or anything misses. And did a great job at that.
Like God loading through the movie only makes it so interesting to a point. Like there's like, you know, we watch a lot of like the one person army genre. And it's awesome. Go ahead, guys. And I got some.
I was just going to ask Greg, do you think as well, you were talking earlier about bullies. Do you also think Enter the Dragon has that theme that can be overlooked about somebody standing up for honor, standing up to bullies, that if you even face with these tremendous odds, that kind of eternal battle of good versus evil, it's kind of got that spiritual side to it as well.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That's one of the greatest things that I love about this movie, because Bruce Lee always wanted to say, you know, you can have fights, but it has to have meaning. There has to be purpose. And something dealing with the bully is something that everybody can relate with, whether they were one or whether they fought one or whether they've been antagonized by one. We all have fought with that, and there's so many things like that. But yes, absolutely.
In terms of influence, like Slipknot, I wonder if Benedict for Last Action Hero was inspired by Han. He has multiple glass eyes like Han has hand weapons. I'm sure that's in there. When you guys were saying that Lee has very limited dialogue, that goes on. I consider that a trope from what up, JSV? I consider that a trope from the samurai movies that we were covering, guys, Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune. But that even is very, very influential, because this last John Wick, Greg, Chapter 4, they had like the shots in Japan, so they had the whole homage to, you know, martial arts and Japanese cinema and, you know, samurai cinema. But they chopped, from what I heard, like 90% of Keanu's dialogue from that film, because they wanted him to be like a Lee type character, a limited dialogue, you know, samurai type character. So even something just is that. And It looked like we all got dropped there, and that's the first time that's ever.
Yeah, and then
shout out to
somebody got us.
Live streaming studio.
Might have been a Marvel fan.
Cream of the crop. Yeah. As soon as you mentioned the MCU, we lost our signal. We're down. Even something as just minute as that, as the limited dialogue, you could say carried all the way over to a modern action movie that was just made last year whenever they made Chapter 4. So I think that stuff goes all the way out. And the final scene we talked about, Lee returns to Roper and they exchange a weary thumbs up as the military finally arrives to take control of the island. Like, military mad late, didn't bother coming during that giant war that they just watched from their helicopters from the sky, as guys pointed out earlier. And then just Lee's face, like, okay, like us two survived, but like it's a complete massacre. There's just piles of bodies. And then obviously Roper sees Tanya well. And it's like, they didn't really explain that, like who killed her. Like, she died just because she was standing there. So, you know what I mean? Like, what? So,
yeah, that's really sad, because I wanted, I wanted her to survive for Roper as well. That would have been nice. But again,
it took her off the island and
it showed you the tragedy of the whole island, of what had been happening to people right from the outset, where they found the poor girl who'd been washed up in the harbor.
Yep. For sure. I say we can do our reviews. I don't know what else you guys want me to cover. There's not much on production. There's casting, filming, soundtrack, box office. I mean, you guys can check this stuff on Wiki yourself, or if you guys want, I could just throw the Wiki link in the description. That way we can do our reviews, guys, since we just got to the end of the film there. I mean, our ratings, excuse me.
Sure.
Out of 10, anybody want to start, or you guys want me to set it off?
Why don't you set it off, sir?
All right, so it's got a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, almost 120,000 reviews or ratings. I'm 10 out of 10 on Enter the Dragon PXF Classic, one of the greatest films of all time. So, and again, real quick, one thing I didn't really mention, something that is, even when me and Gaz watch a film where we're like, hey, this is like a 4 out of 5 or whatever, usually our hang up is pacing. There's absolutely no pacing problem in Enter the Dragon. Even Greg said the times that like he's doing the spy element, or there's always some catalyst pushing the scene forward, or conflict that takes you to even if it's not on-screen combat. So, those kind of characterization, or whatever you want to say, like plot catalyst scenes, move super quick and get you to where you want to be, which is one of the big points. And zero criticisms on pacing. Yeah,
and in many ways, Ross, it could as well be kind of like a live, it's something we've been mentioning throughout our review, a live action espionage novel. You've got the drip feeds to keep the audience hooked, as you were saying, Greg. It doesn't reveal too much, so it will keep you reading because you want to find out where it's going, what's going to happen. But as you rightly have just said there, Ross, no problems with the pacing, so it keeps you entertained. You're along for that ride, so definitely.
Yeah, it's like the perfect. It's about a little over an hour and a half with like with the credits, and it's the perfect length, perfect pacing. But fire off your ratings, boys.
Yeah, I definitely 10 out of 10. It's the greatest martial arts movie that I've ever seen. It keeps me invested. Each scene, each person, it switches from. You got 3 main characters here, and it's really hard to do that and to grab my attention to keep
Stay
it
engaged.
There's no romantic love story, no overtone. I mean, there is a little bit of that, but it's not like overshadowed by anything. There's great fight scenes from start to finish. The first scene is a fight scene. The last scene, if you disregard everything that happens after, is basically a fight scene. There's some great fight scenes, and every fight scene means something. I mean, everything. So yes, 10 out of 10. Great, not only greatest martial arts movie that I've ever seen, one of the greatest movies that I've ever seen.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, no surprise, I'm 10 out of 10 as well. Oh man, for its influence, the legacy, everything that's just followed, every martial arts movie that followed. I mean, Mortal Kombat on the gaming side of things. So many things. I mean, even the horror with the Hall of Mirrors, everything going back to Enter the Dragon, the subtle nods to so many other issues outside of martial arts, state of the world, etc. at that time. Everything there, footwork, stances, facial expressions, wanting to show the devastation of an attack when it's landed right, the impact that has, strong characters, Jim Kelly as Williams, fantastic, John Saxon as Roper, excellent, of course, Bruce Lee, Han, Roper, Bolo Young, so much, 10 out of 10, has to be one of the greatest martial arts, if not the greatest martial arts movie ever. And I just feel if it wasn't for Enter the Dragon, I know Bruce did other films before this, of course, and we'll probably look at them at some point as well. But I just feel in modern terms, we wouldn't have any of these other mediums that we all love and enjoy if it wasn't for Enter the Dragon. And the soundtrack as well, the way it was shot, so atmospheric. Man, I'd be here all day. So yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, soundtrack. Argentinian musician Lalo Schifrin composed the film's musical score. While Schifrin was widely known at the time for his jazz scores, he also incorporated funk and traditional film score elements into the film's soundtrack. He composed the score by sampling sounds from China, Korea, and Japan. The soundtrack has sold over 500,000 copies, earning a gold record, and that's probably a couple years out of date, I would guess.
And Ross, got to share this nerd fact as well. So, we mentioned the Double Dragon games as well outside of Mortal Kombat, and it says on the wiki, guys, there's two enemies named Roper and Williams in Double Dragon, and in the sequel Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, includes opponents named Bolo and O'Hara. Wow. So there you go.
Everywhere.
That's
everywhere.
Awesome.
I didn't even know. I mean, I grew up being a Double Dragon fanboy, and I didn't even know that. So shout out, guys, for finding that one. That's sick. That's basically all I have, gentlemen. I was just going to kind of end it on maybe around where we were at on Game of Death, which is like, what do you guys think the next step was? I like this as a one-off. I'm going to be real, but at the same time, being one of my favorite movies of all time, obviously, like I could deal with the sequel and. At least the way the current Hollywood model is, like, if something did this good now, and, obviously Bruce had no issues with, being around to shoot, they'd be, like, calling him right back up, like, we need to, like, get Enter the Dragon 2 in production right now. But the other thought I had, Gaz, was a bit how Invasion USA and Avenging Force, it's the same character, but kind of completely different stories. That's kind of like the Sanjuro Yokimbo model, right? Toshiro plays, like, the same samurai, but it's not a direct sequel or a prequel or any of that crap. I think that would have been a cool way to go. Is like kind of what you guys were saying, like keep that Lee character around. It's kind of like Bruce's like spy character, and like do other things with it, and then maybe like another completely different movie from Enter the Dragon with the same character, just something like that. I'm just wondering, what would you guys have wanted? Like if it was a perfect world, would you guys want a direct sequel or leave Enter the Dragon on its own? It's already perfect.
No, I really think there was so much left on the table because, okay, you got rid of Han, but it wasn't just about Han. Han had people in all these, who are all these other people?
International drug ring.
Yeah, all these other.
Yeah,
so you could have done that.
Network. Maybe like Roper's character, you bring him back, and
Lee recruits Roper.
Yeah, to meet the other people who are part of Han's and really try to, and then figure out, it's even bigger than Han. Han wasn't the main guy. There was somebody even higher. I love the whole James Bond theme that they could have done with it. They could have done a lot with it.
And that's what I was saying. Even take Lee and be like, hey, Braithwaite has been giving him orders and now MI5. And so hey, Bond, we're teaming you up with your Chinese contact. It's Lee. Oh, and don't worry, in case you run into any physical skirmishes, he's fully capable, and then you can just have Lee go off on people. I would love to fight with both of them. Like Lee and Connery just knocking guys out behind him.
Yeah.
How sick would that be?
It was. They really could have done that because, as Greg said, there was that potential there. There was the setup, and that would have been nice to see to take that further. And I think they would have done it well. I think Bruce would have wanted the story to be on point as well with everything else, so you wouldn't have got some, right, we're just going to make a pure sequel. We would have definitely got something special.
I'm just typing in the chat real quick. They like you, Greg, so they want you to come on more. So I told everybody that you're a Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee guy. So we'll get Greg.
I'm definitely putting on any martial arts we do, Greg. Follow Greg, come on whenever you want, man. You know?
I definitely appreciate that. This has been a blast, guys.
We'll get him for Showdown. I want you to watch some new school stuff too, Greg. Like definitely Raid Redemption if you haven't seen it. Like like it's violent and it's weapons oriented, but that's how they are now. You know what I mean? So it's just like the evolution of kind of like the John Wick stuff. But yeah, no, I like what you both said on that. Like that's really all I had. I was just kind of like, since we kind of ended Game of Death on like where would we all think it would have went. I kind of had the similar thought with Enter the Dragon, but it's very difficult when it's like your favorite movie because like, do I even like? I already have Enter the Dragon. Am I being greedy if I have Bruce?
No.
I don't know. As a Bruce fanboy, can I just take, or where's the limit? So I mean, I'm glad we got this. It's a 10 out of 10 classic. Would have been cool. Like I said, even if it wasn't like a direct sequel, it would have been cool to see him like use the character maybe in something else or like just a different type of story with other stuff. It's
the same thing, and not to I'm gonna state the obvious here, and not to depress anyone, but it's the same thing we say regarding Brandon. Think of what the movies that he could have gone on to do, and that's what's really sad about it. And then of course, as you said earlier, Ross, Bruce and Brandon in a film,
double dragons,
real double dragons. Exactly
real double dragons, so that would have been tight. So well put. I appreciate both your thoughts. I think that's all I got, guys. Pixie already dropped so we're doing Blade next week, Blade 1, Greg, and then we're gonna try to do that Toxic Avenger remake when it comes back to the theaters. So that's left on the schedule.
I'm gonna whet their appetite for Blade 1 because that also has one of the most legendary lines ever with Wesley Snipes' Blade going to that club. Yeah, do you, bro? I was gonna say that line, Ross.
What? Why? Which one was yours?
Do you have invitation? And Wesley just kicks in. I love that line. Yeah.
Okay. So since we got dropped earlier for criticizing the MCU, Blade created the MCU. I mean, Snipes created the Marvel Universe. Yeah. They owe him a solo film just on that alone because
you've got to do, especially as he's an awesome character.
He wanted to do team ups and collabos and crossovers and all that stuff, and Phil Hollywood hadn't caught up with what was going on in the comics and the Marvel cards and stuff.
He did good in the Deadpool movie though. That made me really want more of him.
Love to see him back.
There's only one Blade. I was like,
I agree.
There's only one Blade. There will only ever be one Blade. Yeah. They owe him a solo film. That's what Reynolds says. And now, if you guys don't know, Snipes wanted to make Black Panther, but they told him no. So he was like, "I'll just make Blade." You know what I mean? Which is fine by me. Quite frankly, of the two stories, I prefer Blade. But I mean, it would have been cool to see Snipes' take on that. Yeah. So that was, and then also, I don't know if you saw or heard of Sinners, Greg.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
But it takes place in the 20s, 30s or whatever. And the reason why I'll go out on this, guys, just random fact. The reason why they had that 20s wardrobe in Sinners, that was from the unmade Blade movie that they were supposed to, that new Blade that they were supposed to make was supposed to take place in the 20s. Now, I don't know how that would have turned out. It wasn't going to be the Snipes one. It was going to be with a new guy. He's not a terrible actor, but I mean, Snipes is Blade to me. I mean, Sinners came out good. I mean, I think you just be like, hey, we used the Blade wardrobe for that. Just leave it at that and don't try to make this new Blade piece of crap. That's my take. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell me in the chat, weigh in the comments. I think Gaz and Greg agree with me. They're legacy guys like me. So, my voice is done, lads. I think that's it for me. What movie was this again? Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon.
R, action, crime, kung fu, martial arts, one-person army. Get it? I didn't check if the 4K was out. That was bad research on my end. Google Amazon. Check if they have the 4K Steelbook. If not, get this Blu-ray. Tons of bonuses on the back. Special features, 4 documentaries. I don't know what copy do you have this one, Greg, or do you have something else? Greg had a visitor. It's all good. Guys,
just thanks to everybody for coming through. Thanks to Greg. Always good to chat with you. You're welcome on any of the shows that we do. It's always good to have your opinion and thoughts. And Thanks as always, Ross. Everybody have a good weekend. UFC later as well. Big fight tonight. So enjoy, everyone. Ross, definitely enjoy Alice in Chains, and let me know what it's like as well. And we shall see you all on the next one. Blade, legendary. So yeah, take care, everyone.
Absolutely. Real quick before we go, though, we got asked for UFC picks, so I'll pull it up real quick. Main event. I mean, both I think are undefeated fighters. I got Dricus du Plessis, even though you know what I mean, Hamzat is undefeated, an absolute beast. I don't really know anything about Pico. He's the co-main, right? So he came from another league. So I'm going to go with Lerone Murphy. You've seen him, guys, out of UK. Absolute beast. He's 16-0-1. Jeff Neal versus Prates. I mean, Prates is overhyped from the fighting nerds. I'm going Jeff Neal. Okay, this one's tough. Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page of the UK. Love them both. I think I'm going to go edge to Page, but I like both fighters a lot. And then Kai Asakura kind of crapped his pants at his debut. So I'm going to say Tim Elliott will probably get him. That's my UFC breakdown. Let us know. Throw your picks in the chat if you guys got them. I don't think I'm making it to CrimeCon because I think it's in Florida, isn't it? Or it used to be in Florida, so I've never gone. But let me know if they do anything Zodiac related. I'm down to check it out. Greg, we never got your drops. Where can they find you, my brother?
Greg Fernandez Jr. I'm everywhere out there. KennedyandTrump.com. I got the new book coming out. Trying to get the worldwide global distribution thing going on, and that's taking a little bit longer. But yeah, you just look up Greg Fernandez Jr. You'll probably find me.
Subscribe to Greg over on his channel. I'll have that link below. And then you guys still are doing some streams, restreams and stuff on the Gray Stage here and there.
We got some things planned. I haven't done anything new. Maybe in a couple weeks. But yeah, we're always trying to do something. Always trying to keep up with something on the David Crowley Gray State case.
Hell yeah! Check out Greg's new book and make sure to drop him some subs on both of those channels. I mean, Chimaev is good. I'd like to just see him take a couple dings. There's an original Repo Man. I think I'll throw that on my list. That's what Pixie's been pushing. So I'll check it out. Oh, yeah. But we'll probably skip that new Repo Man. Oh, and Nobody 2. I'm probably gonna go check it out tomorrow. So I saw Weapons, guys. I don't know if you guys have saw the Weapons trailer. It was okay.
I didn't fancy that, to be honest, man.
I expected way more from the trailer because they tried to make it out like one of those Jordan Peele movies, like Nope, and like Get Out and Us. They tried to make it like creepy like that. Like I expected way more from Weapons. I'm sorry. I mean, it had good editing and it was well directed, but you would have fell asleep, guys, and going to the story. It just took way too long to get. No disrespect to Josh Brolin, I think he's the man, but it took way too long to get going.
So would I have sent you with? Sorry.
I do want to see Nobody 2 came out yesterday, so I do want to. I don't know if you see Nobody 1, Greg. Check that one out too.
Yeah.
It's got RZA in it, Bob Odenkirk's first action movie. So it's pretty dope. So check out.
So I'm guessing if I go and see Weapons, Ross, I would be sending you a really polite message about it.
No, you would have went ballistic. I'll tell you exactly what had driven you nuts. The fact that literally nothing happened until Act 3. You and your friends would have been boiling in your seats, just hoping anything that would happen. You know what I mean? Like a chapped ass in the first 2 acts would have been, you know what I mean, the most incredible thing you've ever seen on some Mad Max 2 shit. All right, guys, I think that will do it for Enter the Dragon 1973 R action. Greg Fernandez Jr., Jack Whack, aka Guys. Oh, and shout out to Greg's shirt. Hulkamania, brother.
Yeah.
Hulk. Couple of pythons.
Oh, that hurt my back.
I know the feeling, brother. All right. I'm just going to drop you out to the green room, Greg. And did we have any final shouts, guys? Or are we out of here?
We're out of here. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, folks. Have a good one.
98, Wesley Snipes next week. And then if we're both able to review Toxic Avenger 2023 remake, we'll get the Toxie show out for you guys. So rest in peace to the Hulk. Real Americans, brother. All right. Blade next week. Wesley Snipes, the GOAT. Thanks for rocking with us. Like, sub, share. Click join for membership. Z-Files main series episode 5 coming soon. Check out the Patreon that Pixie linked earlier. And And yeah, give Gaz a sub over at Mosh. That's pretty much everything. Next week, Blade, and then Toxic Avenger, if we're able to get our screenings in, which we will try. We're out. Recco's in the chat and then the comments below. And sub Greg as well. We're out. Paradigm.